afternoon. Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I'm your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here. Come on in, have a seat. I hope you guys got your snacks. I hope you guys got your tea. I sure as hell have mine. Thank you so very much for tuning in on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe to me there. Also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, so if you guys want to see me on there, you guys can see me on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. As well, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to my Substack. You guys can go to jaybefaunt.substack.com so you guys can get those email notifications, because we know the email notifications from YouTube is not that reliable. Also, if you guys would like to, you guys can also subscribe to my Patreon, Coffee, or become a member on this channel. Thank you so very much to all the members, as well as Patreon, Coffee, patrons. Thank you so very much for all that you guys have done. I'm able to do this because of you guys, and as well as anybody wants to, you guys can also do that or give to me in mutual aid, also in various links in the description as well. My apologies, guys, for being a little bit tardy. Thank you so much for your patience. It's been yeah, it's been a morning. It's been a long morning. And then stories dropped, and I was moving stuff around and just so that's why. But so good to see all of you here today. I'm going to say hellos to everybody that's in the chat. It's going to be good to see all of you guys here. So we're going to start off with Kilia Grigors says, "Hi, JB, and good to see you." Thank you so much, Kilia Grigors. Thank you so very much. All right, we have Creative Experiment saying, "Damn, landlord now charging me a fee for processing my rent check. These guys are evil." Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that. And it's not going to be good for landlords, because once I get into it. Purple Philosophy says, "What's up? What's up, Purple Philosophy? Good to see you." Uncle Warren's in the chat. Extra Boy, I said, "Happy Taco Tuesday, fam." Yes, happy Taco Tuesday to you too. All right, good to have you in the chat. Oh, boy. I've been rushing. I've been rushing more than Putin. Let me stop. But anyways, yeah, so that's what's going on right now. Let me check on the Rockfin side to see if anybody's in the chat. They'll pour in eventually. Let me do this really quick. Copy this. I never really do this that often. Hang on. Oh, really? Now you're just gonna... Something went wrong, but it's not your fault. You know, this whole thing with Elon Musk changing the name of Twitter is just complete and utter BS. I'm like, Twitter has been glitchy as hell, and it's like we would think to fix that first instead of just changing the name. It's like the money that it takes to change the name. Why don't you use that money to actually fix the glitches in Twitter first before you do that? Priorities. So hopefully, you know, and he won't listen to me. He's a billionaire. Anyways, so what are we going to be talking about today? Oh, Randy Bray, so good to see you. How are you doing? All right, and then we have Abby Russian Morton. Yeah. Some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth. Ryan Wagner, so good to see you. Like washing your car when you need a new engine. Thank you. It's like washing your car when you need... Look, I need a tune-up. What am I doing changing out one of the lights? And it's not even changing out a light. It's like I need a tune-up, but yet you're more concerned about putting, the little tree or car air freshener in your rearview mirror. Like, what in the world? Like, come on, man. Let's focus on the actual operation rather than the branding first. Your car is breaking down, but you're concerned about the hood ornament. God, I can't talk today. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Adam says he should. Yeah. I didn't come here to talk about that, but it's on my mind. So that's my goodness. It's like, it's like painting a car when you need a new tire. Fix the tire, then you can paint a new car. Jeez Louise. these billionaires are not, look, hold up. These billionaires are not the brightest people on the planet. They're just the greediest people on the planet. He's more focused on branding and actually fixing the website, which is complete and utter bullshit to me. Like, look, this dude, let me show you something before I get started, because now this thing's on my mind. Because I've been just like thinking to myself, like, what in the hell is Elon Musk up to? Look at this. Look up here in the upper left-hand corner. It's no longer Twitter or the bird, it's X. Like, what? Now, what's he going to change it to? X.com? Is he going to change it to that? Because that don't make no damn sense, man. Look, I'm telling you, these billionaires, they are, look, we have a world that's run by supervillains. Not even supervillains. They're not even that good a villain. It's not like we have an actual Lex Luthor. We got Jeff Bezos. We got that guy. Like, are you kidding me right now? And we have people like Elon Musk, Harlan Crow, one half of the Koch brothers. Like, is this your king? Like, we really need to rise up and really just need to take these guys. I gotta be careful what I say. We need to put the proletariat, the workers in power instead of these yahoos. Because guess what? They are just ruining everything. All because they want to have everything to themselves. Just because they want me, my. And I'm like, I'm sick and tired of this BS. I'm sick and tired of you and people like when I was going to traditional job, having to go to work to make money for somebody that sits on their ass all day long and just go to meetings. And then they collect a check off of your back. And then they say, oh, you guys just need to work harder. Learn to code. You learn to code, you asshole. You learn to code. You actually get off your ass and start doing something for a change rather than taking trips to Epstein Island to do God knows what. Like, oh my God, these guys just get, what in the hell is inside this tea? I'm telling you. Y'all say one thing and this tea gets me turned up. I didn't get the chance to put, I got this oil of oregano. I'm all over the place this morning. I got this oil of oregano, which is supposed to be really good for you. And I've been sick, and for some reason I heard oil of oregano is actually really good, so it's going into tea. It smells strong though. I can smell it through here before even opening it. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. Yeah, it's supposed to be like really good for you, to help you with with stuff like that. But anyway. Oh, I can taste the oregano. Whew, shit. Anyway, so yeah, billionaires like this who place their priorities on wanting to buy up all the houses, want to buy up all the houses and make us into a nation of renters, right? Billionaires like this that are controlling our government. See, here's the thing that gets me, it chaps my ass, is when people talk about, especially a lot of libertarians, a lot of conservatives go, oh my God, government is the problem. Government, I'm gonna use Roger Meadows' analogy. Government is like a hammer. It can be used to build or it can be used to destroy. It depends on who's wielding that hammer. You have the billionaires and the bankers that have that hammer, and they are destroying our world, destroying us, destroying the animals, the plants. That's what's wrong. And then they'll tell people, oh, I need this hammer to destroy, but this hammer is bad, but you're using it to destroy. And yet, those of us, the socialists, the communists, the Marxists, the Leninists, the anarcho-communists, we're the ones saying, no, you take that hammer and use it to build housing, build infrastructure for our healthcare, build ways to save the planet, that's what you use it to build. And you use it and you put it in the hands of the workers in order to build. You take it away from these genocidal, homicidal maniacs we call billionaires, and you put it in the hands of the workers who are actually trying to save lives rather than take them. And that's what you do. You see, a hammer is not the problem. Hammers don't kill people. People kill people. Right? So, if it's a tool, then you use it as a tool instead of a weapon. But government has been weaponized by the corporate dictators. That's the problem. And that's why you hate government now. You hate government because it's being wielded against you. That's why. Rather than being a tool to build, is a tool, it has become a weapon to whack you over the head with. That's why you hate taxes. Because the taxes don't go to the things that you want. This is why you don't want your money taken away. Because it's not being spent right. If your money was spent right, then you really wouldn't have that big of a care. If your money was spent on programs where it allowed you to spend more time with your family, be able to spend it on the programs that allowed you to be able to have healthcare, housing, food, a great environment. Because I know a lot of you who are conservative, some of you may slip in and watch this channel, and you may be concerned with the amount of deer you may be able to hunt, right? Some of you guys are hunters. Some of you guys like to fish. Some of you guys like to camp. I know, right? Now, it's not just limited to conservatives. It's a lot of us who like to do things like that. But if the environment's ruined, where in the fuck are you going to put your tent? Where? Where are you going to put your tent at, man? How are you going to be able to survive when it's too hot out there to survive? Right? Look, even Tucker Carlson was talking about the environment. Who'd have thunk it? And he was like, yeah, I think the environment really needs to be discussed. And he's a conservative. If you're going to be a conservative, at least be a conservationist conservative. And then on top of that, we'll have liberals that will sit there. Oh my God, it makes me itch. Liberals who will talk about, yeah, we need to preserve the environment. And we're like, yeah, it's the corporate dictators that are actually the ones who are making the environment the way it is. But you guys will fall for whenever they say Black Lives Matter, or they'll fall for whenever they put up a rainbow flag and fly in the air. And you guys are like, oh my God, look at them. They're at Pride. And they are literally supporting us when they are not supporting us. And then you guys will say, oh, well, we just need a government that is like Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Finland, right? Oh, I'm on fire today. They're going to be, oh man, we need these social democracies. Meanwhile, these same social democracies are in Africa that are exploiting the people in the global south in order for these people in these socially democratic countries to have the benefits that they have. But they only got these benefits because they actually exploited people in overly exploited countries. Just like there's one where they actually hate Black people. What is it? I think it's Denmark, where they actually hate Black people. They don't want the immigrants to come in. And yet people will praise them for their socially democratic policies, when in reality, it's still exploitative. And they still have homelessness a lot of times, with exception to maybe Finland, which they're trying to get rid of homelessness. But you can't do it while you still have corporations that are willing to exploit. I had no idea I was going to go off on this subject. I'm 20 minutes in and I'm going off on this subject, but God damn it, it needs to be said. This is why social democracies don't work, because you're still allowing capitalism, which is a system that requires infinite growth on the planet with finite resources, to exist. And capitalism is a cancer. And if I was an oncologist, a surgical oncologist, and if I only got rid of 55, 60% of the tumor and left the rest in, You're going to yell at me and go, why did you leave the rest of it in? Why didn't you get it out completely? And I'm going to go, well, maybe just a little bit is good for you. No, it's not. Because it's a system that requires infinite growth on a planet with finite resources. What does a tumor do? It grows and grows and grows until it consumes the host. And once it consumes the host, what's left? Nothing is left. That's it. That's all. If I put a couple of drops of poison in this, is it going to be, it's just a couple drops. The majority of the poison is not in there. It's just a couple drops. No! Are you going to eat a sandwich with somebody has a little piece of shit on their hand and they put it on the sandwich? Well, it's not all through the sandwich. It's just, a little bit. Just rip off the pieces that it's not on. No! Like, think of the logic here. Dear God, people just oh my Lord. But then again, some people just don't realize about the exploitation that even some of these socially democratic countries are doing in the global South. They don't realize it. They'll look at France and be like, oh my God, France is doing so well, right? If you have a kid, France will give you money. If you have a kid, they'll also send you a nanny to take care of your kid by way of the government, which is great. Oh my God, France, so great. Meanwhile, what they're doing in African countries is atrocious. So that white French mother can have a nanny come to her home and take care of her kid for hours on end in the day and get paid for that. And also have universal health care. Why are they able to have that? Because they stole it from other people. How's Haiti doing right now? How are they doing? And yet they had to pay reparations to France? Are you kidding me right now? And yet, oh my God, we need to be like France. And by the way, I stand with all workers across the world. But when people are like, oh my God, we need to be like France, they're rising up against their government. Ain't nobody is looking at Nigeria. Not Nigeria. Embarrassing. Ain't nobody looking at Sudan. What about India? Pakistan, right? Ain't nobody looking at the countries that got a little bit more melanin in it? They have been rising up. And people are like, oh my God, we need to be more like France. 2020, y'all. 2020. We did rise up. And what did the United States government do? They responded. Now they're trying to build Cop City. The thing is that we need to build class consciousness. That class consciousness that needs to be built. When the death of George Floyd happened, people saw a human being that was murdered by the state. Remember, Derek Chauvin and his goons next to him were agents of the state. People saw themselves because they immediately forgot he was black. And all they saw was a human being on the ground being asphyxiated, choked to death. And it hit them here. And when it hit them here, it affected their legs. And they walked out of their houses, a lot of them white, and they walked out of the suburbs and they went into the streets. Because that consciousness came forth. And then they were like, no, this needs to stop. And then a lot of white people got their heads bashed in by police, and they felt just for 1 second what it felt like to be black. And this enraged them more. And then they continued. And the corporate dictators saw that. And it freaked them out. And now they're like, we don't want this to happen again. Let's build military bases for our police in order to combat when people express their rights. And that's what's going on right now. Y'all wonder why somebody like Ron DeSantis can get so famous so quickly while he's literally trampling on rights of people like First Amendment rights, like the right to protest? Fascists only know one way to go, and that is to push you back into chains as fast as possible. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. That's one of the things I'm going to be talking about. Really, this is this is going to be a whole show about fascism. Whether it's here or whether it's in Israel, we're going to be talking about it. So, DeSantis defends enslaved benefit. And DeSantis allows landlords to charge fees. That's why I have DeSantis in between these two pictures. And then the next one is Israel guts judicial system. So that's why I had went off on a tangent, and I apologize, but I circled it back. You see what I did? So first thing we're going to talk about is DeSantis defends enslaved benefits. Ron DeSantis recently is coming under fire, and it is deserved, because Ron DeSantis essentially said that enslaved Africans benefited from slavery by acquiring skills. Y'all heard me right. This is ridiculous. It is asinine. And I got some things to say. So let's go to my first item on the list. Oh, by the way, just to let you guys know, and this is just a passing thing, Ron DeSantis was also in a car accident this morning. He's fine. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, just letting you guys know, he also got into a car accident this morning. And, you know. But anywho, let's go to the first. Let's go to this article really quick. Tampa Bay Times, are you gonna put paywall in front of me? I hope not. If not, oh good. I think I don't have a paywall. Okay. I hate paywalls. They suck. Everything's paywall. Healthcare's paywall. Housing's paywall. Hell, breath is paywall. If they get their, damn it, they did paywall it. All right, I know around that. All right. I just didn't feel like doing this extra step. That's all. I know. Okay, stop sharing. And let's go this route. And when I share the article with you guys, I'm going to share the archived article instead of the actual link, because then you guys won't have to go through the paywall. So, all right. So this is out of Tampa Bay Times. Says, benefited from slavery. Critics say some of the state's examples were never even slaves. So it says the battle over Florida's new African American history standards grows more heated. Let me shrink this just a little bit. Oh. Charlie Sheen, Ben Vereen shrink to the size of a lima bean. Okay. All right, it says Florida Department of Education faced angry reaction from across the nation this week to new African American history standards, suggesting some slaves benefited from skills they learned while enslaved. This is complete and utter BS here, baby. It says, responding to mounting criticism, the department issued a statement Thursday offering 16 examples of historic figures it said that fit the description, that they develop highly specialized abilities that help them later in life is factual and well documented, the department stated. Asked for more information on Friday, Florida's Department of Education cited as references the Colored Patriots of the American Revolution, an 1895 book by William Cooper Nell, and Encyclopedia of African American History from 1619 to 1895, a 2006 book edited by Paul Finkelman. Alex Lanfranconi, a spokesperson for the department, said that experts stand behind their examples. Francis Presley Rice, a co-founder of the Yocum African American History Association and chairperson of the National Black Republican Never mind. National Black Republican Association, provided the information to the department. Other sources offer conflicting descriptions of the 16 historic figures, and critics came forward to attack the department's claims. Among the problems, historic sources show several of the 16 individuals were never even slaves. The standards were approved by Wednesday by the Board of Education, whose members were all appointed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Of course, the ensuing debate over the standards has been magnified by presidential politics. Vice President Kamala Harris said extremists want to replace history with lies as she traveled to Florida on Friday to assail the standards. Now, as horrible as Kamala Harris is, she's not wrong about this. I do not like Kamala Harris, right? She's a cop, but a broken clock is right twice a day. So I will say, yeah, Kamala Harris is correct on this. But that's all the credit I'm giving her. That's it. From the campaign trail in Utah the same day, DeSantis accused Harris of attempting to demagogue and politicize history. But that's the thing, DeSantis, Ronnie, here's the problem. You are rewriting history. You're trying, okay, not rewriting. He's trying to sanitize history. He's watering it down, making it seem not as bad as it actually was, when in reality, it was that bad. Just look up alligator babies. It was that bad. Ronnie, by the way, Ron DeSantis does not deserve much respect at all because he oversaw torture in Guantanamo Bay and he has very fascist proclivities. So therefore, I do not give him that respect by calling him his actual name. So Ronnie, that's how it goes. So that's the thing. The watering down of it all. That's basically the whitewashing of it all. That's basically what it is. It says he said he wasn't involved in devising the Florida Board education standards, but defended components instructing the enslaved people were taught skills that benefited them. They're probably going to show that some of the folks eventually parlayed being a blacksmith into doing things later in life, but the reality is all that's rooted in whatever is factual. That's what he said. I'm gonna tell you guys why this is problematic. Continuing on, it says that defense drew yet more criticism. On Saturday, American Federation of Teachers President Randi Weingarten said that her colleague Leo Casey, a retired teacher from Brooklyn's Clara Barton High School, issued a joint statement. This is disgusting and willfully ahistorical, it said. Normally, publishing a grievously racist notion like slaves benefited from slavery will be considered an embarrassment and quickly withdrawn, but not for Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, where doubling down on this noxious claim is seen as a badge of honor. Several critics argue that nearly half of the 16 historic figures highlighted by the state were never enslaved. Others who did spend time in slavery did not gain their skills from their servitude. They just threw out a bunch of names to make it seem like something good came of slavery, said Andrew Spar, president of the Florida Education Association Teachers Union. The reality of it is the facts don't back up what they're saying. He mentioned Booker T. Washington, which included on the state list as an educator. Washington was enslaved, but did not gain his skill until after being freed at age 9. He worked in mines as a houseboy before entering school, according to Tuskegee University, which he founded in 1881. Georgetown University postdoctoral fellow Joshua Stein took issue with the state's use of James Fortin and Lewis Latimer as examples. The department said Latimer was a blacksmith born into slavery in 1848 and freed in 1852, and Fortin was a shoemaker born into slavery in 1766 who escaped in 1784. A museum dedicated to Latimer states that he was born to two self-liberated, formerly enslaved parents. Self-educated, he worked as an inventor, participating in the development of the telephone and incandescent lighting, among other inventions. The Museum of the American Revolution describes Fortin as a black entrepreneur born to free parents. He served on privateer ships during the Revolutionary War and became a wealthy sailmaker. Not only were they not slaves, Stein wrote on Twitter, their provided professions were also were incorrect. So you're wrong on both halves. Other examples. The department listed Henry Blair as a slave who became a blacksmith and an inventor. Biography.com said, and several other sites stated, that there is no information indicating that Blair was enslaved. He invented a corn planter and a cotton planter, becoming the second black person to earn a U.S. patent. The department referred to Paul Cuff as a shoemaker and ship owner born into slavery and escaped to freedom in 1781. According to paulcuff.org, operated by the Westport Historical Society, Cuff was born in 1759 to an emancipated slave. Having worked on whaling boats starting at age 14, he established a shipping business in Massachusetts. The statement mentioned that John Chavis was a fisherman born into slavery, who later was known for his work in teaching. The North Carolina Museum of History stated that Chavis was born into a free black family in North Carolina, fought in the Revolutionary War, and became an educator. Dennis Robinson, political educator of the Equal Ground Florida, said he was disappointed but not surprised in that information. He said members of the public have been trying to point out problems with the standards since that state first introduced them for input and comment. So this is the problem, right? A lot of times they will rewrite history, or they will sanitize history to put forth their own ends, to make things look not as bad. Because ultimately, what is it going to do? It's going to look at black people and say, what are you guys complaining for? It wasn't that bad. That's ultimately what it is. They want us to stop crying about it. That's basically what it is. And let me go to my notes, because this guy just effectively is whitewashing and sanitizing history because he is a freaking snowflake, ultimately. That's who Ron DeSantis is. Ron DeSantis is a snowflake that can't take actual history. He can't stomach it. Here's out of NBC News. New Florida standards teach students that some Black people benefited from slavery because it taught useful skills. Get out of my... What the hell? Continue. No, I don't want to... Continue the site. Anyway. Hey, no, I do... Are you kidding me right now, NBC News? You guys... No, I don't want that. Anywho, but this is also talking about what they said via NBC News. Screw you and your ad and wanting to take ad blockers off. No, I don't care about you damn corporate dictators trying to make money off of. Nope. Sorry guys, but NBC News want to play stupid. All right, I'm gonna go to this by Miss Bree Newsom Bass. Miss Bree Newsom Bass has a really good tweet here. Slavery and without slavery, which is true. Slavery is not what taught skills. Y'all want to make this about everything, but white people being excluded, being violent and past and present. Man, Twitter is glitching today. Man, Elon sucks. Dear God. Anyway. But that's what Miss Bree Newsom Bass said. Another... Where's the other one on my list? Okay. And here's the thing. And I said this in a TikTok recently. But the fact is that when it comes to chattel slavery, a lot of these slave owners were too unskilled and too lazy to do their own labor. Now, I know I'm reading a book that says laziness does not exist, but really what I'm saying is they didn't want to do it themselves. They wanted someone else to do the work for them because they don't have the intestinal fortitude. They don't have the guts. They don't have the gumption, the chutzpah to do the work on their own. So what did they do? They went to West Africa, stole some people, brought them here. And guess what? The people, my people in West Africa, were actually doing agriculture beautifully, planting rice, knowing how to, do agriculture in their own land already. They didn't know how to plant rice and all this other stuff. They didn't know how to do agriculture as well as we did. So yeah, they stole us. And then on top of that, let's just say some of them did know how to do agriculture well. They didn't want to do it. They just sat on their asses and let us do all the work. Well, not let us, forced us to do all the work. And then beat, sexually assaulted, tortured, murdered, people who either resisted or just because. And you want to say that, oh, because of that system, it was somewhat beneficial because it taught them skills? It's just like those people who say, well, if it wasn't for us, you guys would still be in Africa, living in huts and blah, blah, blah. Number one, those mud huts are actually sustainable housing that doesn't have an impact on the environment. And now a lot of people in the United States are doing what? They're actually manufacturing their houses out of the same elements of mud just so that it has less carbon. Number one. Number two, they were doing agriculture very well, mind you, in Africa, and they've been doing it for years and years. So therefore, they actually were doing fine without the exploitation. And so, number three, Africa has a shit ton of innovation. You see, people will look at the Sistine Chapel and they'll look at the cathedrals and be like, oh my God, look at what these people did. Marvelous. Yet, some of the structures in places like Benin, Congo, Nigeria, Egypt, you'll look at that and be like, oh, well, these are great, but aliens must have done them. When in reality, people who look like me, there's some smart cookies in Africa. Brilliant. Brilliant. Some of the smartest people in the world in Africa. But some people just don't want to acknowledge that. And there are sprawling cities in Africa. Right? But they don't want to look at that. So that's the thing. Let me read my notes because I had some things to say. This narrative is being built to excuse slavery, to minimize its sting on history. My question is, who is going to watch the movie The Color Purple and see what Celie went through and say, well, at least she learned how to cook, shave, and sew? The tragedy was that her abuse and captivity. I don't care if she didn't learn a thing. She shouldn't have went through that in the first place. Now, ultimately, this is a class issue. Slavery was a class issue that developed into a race issue and kept us oppressed and subjugated as free and or cheap labor. This objective still exists down to this day. It is to excuse slavery, to excuse the exploitation of a people. That's what this is all about. To make it seem like, why are you guys crying? This is idiotic and it's stupid. Somebody on Fox had actually made a really good point. Perish thought, but it actually happened. Let me see. I thought I had saved it, but I didn't. I got it. Okay. I think I found it. Because Jesse Waters from Fox News says some idiotic shit. And I was just like, God, these people. Excuse me. Let's take a look.
Do you think that she read the whole thing and just decided to cherry pick something?
I do think that she read the whole thing. And I think that it's an incredibly complex piece. When you look at the 191 passages, you have some good. And frankly, I'm just fundamentally uncomfortable with the sentence that Blacks benefited at all from this. And it made me think, as someone, obviously I'm not Black, but I'm Jewish. Would someone say about the Holocaust, for instance, that there were some benefits for Jews, right? While they were hanging out in concentration camps, you learned a strong work ethic, right? Maybe you learned a new skill.
Did you ever read Man's Search for Meaning? Vic Frankl talks about how you had to survive in a concentration camp by having skills. You had to be useful. Utility kept you alive.
First off, Pencilneck here decided to make this statement saying that your utility, your usefulness, your productivity is what kept you alive. What's the difference between now and then and now? What's the difference? And they'll say, well, you were forced. You're forced now. This very argument, it could be used now. And it's why I say we need housing for all. Housing's a right. Food is a right. Education's a right. A clean environment is a right. And it should not be paywalled. No. People look at me like I'm crazy when saying that, but it's true. And the thing is that because if you don't work, you're dead. Because if you don't have housing, healthcare, education, food, you die. In a country where we have trillions and trillions of tons of food that are thrown out each year. Go to the back of a grocery store and look at their trash can. Go ahead. And so the thought that, well, their survival meant that they're useful. See, this guy is saying that they're better because they had skills. So that's why they deserve to live. You're deserving to live should not be incumbent upon skills that you know. You deserve to live because you are alive. Just because you don't know skills doesn't mean you don't deserve to live. See the reprehensible ideas from people like this? Let's continue.
Kept you
but
alive.
We're also talking about middle schoolers here. And there's a lot of concern about what age people are prepared to understand complex issues. I'm not sure that 12 is the right age to start hearing things like, and when you were enslaved here in America.
What about gender?
Actually, you can explain these things to kids. You just have to know how. And the thing is that you can do it in stages. You don't just have to do it all super complex at one time. But it's true, you can do it. But yeah, I mean, she's right. Like, why in the world would you say that about Jews, saying that, oh, being in the Nazi concentration camp gave you a strong work ethic? Because in reality, it didn't. And so people talking about that it can that you benefited from being enslaved, it's not true. Because they learned those skills in spite of slavery. not because of it. Like I said, that's like watching The Color Purple and thinking that because Celie was being abused and sexually assaulted and in captivity by Mr., that she learned those skills. She could have learned them skills outside of that. Just like black people in slavery, a lot of times learned those skills outside of slavery. And even if they learned it while they were enslaved, they still could have learned it outside of it. So trying to make it seem like, oh, well, at least they had benefits. No. That's like being shot by a gun and saying, well, at least you got the rest in the hospital. At least you got some ice cream while you were in the hospital. I shouldn't have been in the hospital in the first place. Shouldn't have got shot in the first place. Like, make me want to walk off my own damn show. Like, are you for real? No. Look at this mess. Look at this mess.
No one is arguing slaves benefited from slavery. No
You just did.
one is saying that. It's not true. They're teaching how black people developed skills during slavery in some instances that could be applied for their own personal benefit.
Which is a lie, because over half of them weren't even enslaved, and the other half didn't earn their skills until post-slavery.
No one is arguing slaves benefited from slavery. No one is saying that. It's
Except you are. You're basically watering it down. You're whitewashing the shit. Good God. Anywho. So yeah. Baldwin said, to be a Negro in this nation is to be enraged all the time. You know, I hate that angry black man, angry black woman trope. But you gotta admit, it's kind of justified, right? Right? It's justified. Like, to be honest with you, 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, and institutionalized imprisonment, wouldn't you be angry a lot? I mean, wouldn't you be pissed off all the time? Wouldn't you be pissed off that police actually don't protect you? Wouldn't you be pissed off that the courts actually don't look for justice for you? Like, who's going to protect you? Who's going to protect you on the front end? And who's going to protect you on the back end? Nobody, right? Then on top of that, you get a lot of white supremacy. You get misogyny, misogynoir. And you get overlooked. You get overlooked just because your name is different. You get overlooked because the way you look will bar you from renting an apartment in a certain area, or buying a house in a certain area, or getting your house appraised in a certain area. Like, or then you just can't move into certain areas because of the way you look. Or you get treated differently when you go to the hospital to get treated, and sometimes you die because of this. Because you may be complaining about a pain, and the medical personnel will look at you with less empathetic eyes than they will somebody that's white. And as somebody that's disabled, that gets a medical treatment that's life-sustaining 3 times a week, that's important for somebody like me. So yeah, I didn't even get to the whole rental situation. But to stop for a second, thank you so much to Willie Bragg. Good to see you. If you guys have not seen that my episode where I interviewed him, you guys can go back into the interview portions of the playlist and see that I interviewed Willie Bragg. Thank you so very much. He says, great show and all the best to everyone at RBN. Thank you so much, Willie Bragg. Appreciate it. Good to see you, by the way. But I'm going to jump on the rental part for a second in a minute. I'm going to go to the chat really quick. But DeSantis and the Florida legislator, man, they tripping. They tripping hard. They tripping balls, man. All right. So, and sorry for going off like this, guys, but all right. Cobra Commander, I see one of your comments. I'm gonna get to that in a second because we gotta talk about it. Okay. Excuse me. Adam Charlton says Farrakhan says that slave ships were owned and insured by the Rothschilds, and look up all the slave receipt papers. And ultimately, they also made most of the money from the cotton. I wouldn't be surprised, right? Cobra Commander says, even after death, they took your skin for leather, fat for lamp oil, hair, my ancestors' hair, for yarn. Also, they took our hair also for pillows too, by the way. Our bones for cutlery. Case in point, they turned Nat Turner into a couch and sold it after his slave rebellion. Also, some of them ate us. Some of them ate my ancestors. It's true. Some of them also put body parts of my ancestors on their mantle as a keepsake, as an ornament. My ancestors' ears, ancestors' noses, phalluses, toes, fingers. Yet we benefited somehow from slavery. What about Jim Crow? We need critical thinking, says breaking UPS reaches historic contract with 340,000 unionized workers, averting potentially calamitous strike. Whoa. Thank you. Thank you for that. Man. I wanted a general strike, though. We still need it. Ryan Wagner says, not going to lie, I wish I lived in a mud hut I made by hand. Life would be much happier. Yep. You can't get it. You know, you can't get foreclosed on. That's for damn sure. Oh. Hello, Schlatsky. On the Twitch side. The Jam Mom said, yeah, I saw that we need. Let me see. Yep, the walls have been in. Yep. Screen Arts Media says slavery was too expensive. Employees fend for themselves. Owners don't have to provide housing or food or care. Nothing, just a few cents. So many hungry employees are easily found. Cobra Commander says the Nazis saw this and did this to the Jews. Exactly. Germans built entire textile factories to process the remains of Jewish people to be sold into products, I think you meant. Yeah. Slasky says Westerners never give us credit. Pyramids, aliens. Soviet defeats Nazis, Lend-Lease. Yeah. Dwayne says Fox generally has much better political analysis than CNN or MSDNCIA these days. But they'll tell Dems what they want to hear, which is yes, because they tell what they want to hear, which is yes. Yeah, definitely, Dwayne. Let me see. Oh yeah, restaurants too. Yeah, we're definitely discriminating restaurants too, as workers and as customers. Yep. PM me or Nacho says, I mean, skills acquired and skills are they not? Even still, it still makes it seem like, well, at least you learned skills while you were being abused. The point is, they shouldn't have been abused, period. Why does that even matter? Right? Why does it even matter? I don't care if you learn skills. Someone who's being abused, well, yes, they'll learn skills to survive, but the thing is that they shouldn't have had to be in that position in the first place. And like I said, it's whitewashing, you know? Good to see you, Bryce. All right. Henstey says they probably could have learned more without the abuse. Bingo. We could have. Hell, we did. We did. I mean, just look at refrigerated trucks. Look at the stoplight. You know? And this is the point. And I'm going to leave it at this. The Jam Mom says, we had knowledge before we were taken. Thank you. So, now, let's go to the next part of this story. Housing. Haha. DeSantis allowed landlords to charge fees? Let's get into it. So y'all already know how I feel about landlords. It's an antiquated, outdated, feudal system that should have went away into the ash heaps of history long ago. That's basically how I feel about it. I don't care what anybody says. People can say, oh, well, landlords, provide a service. No, they do not. But somebody like DeSantis will team up with them and let them charge some fees. Let's go to here. All right. So DeSantis signs bill to let landlords charge. No. Sorry. I'm broke. Says DeSantis signs bill to let landlords charge unlimited non-refundable fees. So this came out last month, right? Enlarge this just a little bit. 1, 2, 3. All right. It says far-right Governor Ron DeSantis has signed an industry-backed bill that would allow Florida landlords to charge renters a monthly non-refundable fee in lieu of a deposit that opponents of the bill say is predatory and meant to exploit renters. The bill, HB 133, places no cap on the fee, which critics have compared to junk fees, meant that landlords can charge as much as they choose. Though tenants technically have the option between the fee and the deposit, some Democrats in the Florida legislature have pointed out that for many people who can't afford upfront deposit, which is often required with the first month's rent, it may not feel like a choice. At the same time, however, deposits are often refundable at the end of the lease, which renters would not be able to recoup the fee. At the same time, renters will remain on the hook for paying for repairs to the property on top of the monthly fee. The bill closely resembles a bill drafted by corporate lobbyists, including lobbyists for LeaseLock, a California company backing similar legislation in other states. It was passed by the state legislature in April with Republicans and some Democrats in support. This is why I say they're all part of the same party. Says the Florida legislature also passed a number of other anti-renter bills this session. One bill signed by DeSantis in March bans local governments from implementing rent control initiatives and gives tax breaks to developers who set aside affordable housing units in developments. Another bill in HB 4. Oh, yeah, by the way, just let you guys know. Yeah, rent control is now illegal in Florida fully. See, it was illegal up to a certain point, but now rent control is actually illegal in Florida. I live in Florida. Pray for me. So, and if you're atheist, and send good vibes. But yes, rent control basically is illegal. I'm at a point right now where I'm like, man, I think every single tenant in this state should just stop paying their rent. Stop paying their rent. Force the landlords to become workers. Force them to be workers. Force them to have to get a job. Because unfortunately, they don't know how to do. You want to talk about unskilled. These same people will use money to buy extra housing and then force you to pay their mortgage and collect profit on top of it. And then, because you paid the mortgage on the housing that they own, they collect all the equity in it, and then you don't get to own it. You can live in there for 30 years, and at the end, you still don't own it. You can't pass it on to your descendants because they own it. And you can't take out a mortgage because A, you don't have the good enough credit, and B, you don't make enough to put down a down payment. So who benefits? The landlord. Because they decided to use their money to buy an extra property. And if you don't pay rent, you're out on the street. You're homeless. And if they don't have an extra house, they just become a worker. Who risks more? It says, housing rights and progressive groups have raised concerns about HB 1417 and HB 133, saying that they would only worsen the state's housing crisis and give power and money to corporate landlords straight out of the public's pockets. Several advocacy groups, including representatives from labor unions like the Florida AFL-CIO or groups like the Florida ACLU, sent letters to DeSantis last month arguing to him to veto both bills. HB 1417 is ripe for abuse by corporations like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street from outside of Florida, and is meant to kill renters' efforts to organize solutions around housing, the groups wrote. It is extreme, unnecessary, and dangerous. Says in their letter about HB 133, the groups wrote that charging fees is not a solution to helping renters who can't afford to pay upfront deposit and will only place them further into financial insecurity. They suggest that, at the very least, the fee be paid into a deposit that could be returned at the end of the lease. So instead of paying a deposit in a lump sum outright, you just make payments to make a full deposit that is refundable at the end of your lease. Thing is that this is just a way for landlords to get more money out of you above the fair market value. That's basically what it is. But they don't want you to know that. Let's say, hypothetically, you rent a place, right? And the rent is $1,500 a month. But you don't have money for a deposit. So a landlord can go, okay, you don't have money for a deposit? That's fine. I will charge you a $100 fee each month instead. So you don't have to pay the rent. So your rent goes from $1,500 to $1,600. But that fee never goes away. So let's say for a year you pay $1,500 a month. By the end of your lease, you have paid $1,200 in fees for that year on top of your rent. But guess what? Which would be equivalent to a deposit, basically. But then you renew your lease and you pay $100 a month extra on top of that. So now, since you started your lease, you've paid $2,400, which is more than what you would have done during the deposit. But you never get that money back. And what if you renew your lease for a third year? That's not outside the realm of possibility. But then you still keep paying the fees, which means this landlord is scalping you for even more. All because you had the misfortune of not having the money for a deposit. See how bad that is? Now, I have this to share really quick. So, I can pause it? Great. All right. So let's put on the sound and let's go.
Governor Ron DeSantis has now signed a bill that allows landlords to charge a monthly fee instead of a traditional security deposit. So I know that most of you are fully aware of what a security deposit is, but what I think most people are confused about is how much it is. Now, in most cases, it's equivalent to 1 month of rent, but in some cases, depending on how bad your credit is, how bad your employment history is, or any other derogatory items that may affect you, you might pay 2, 3, 4 months extra for a security deposit. So if your rent is expected to be $2,500 a month and your landlord is requesting first, last, and security, that's easily $7,500. If they're asking for first, last, and 2 securities, that can be $10,000. So as you can see, it can easily add up to a down payment on a property. So what do you think about this? Some people are pleased with the bill because they're saying that it's a great opportunity for tenants who don't have the money to come up with the security deposit all at one time. And there are other people that just don't like how it sounds. They don't like the fact that it's unlimited. They don't like that it's uncapped. It's not regulated. And the fees are non-refundable. So if that landlord decides to file a claim that you damaged their property, you would still be liable. As a full-time South Florida realtor for over a decade, I will always advocate for homeownership. But if you feel otherwise, comment below and let me know.
So she says she will always advocate for home ownership, which I think everybody needs to own their own home. But I also think that everybody just needs to be given a home. The thing is that you should not have the gate kept for housing, even if it's just like a 1-bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Let's say you have a building and it has a bunch of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. Even then, I think you should just be given that unit. I don't think that you should be barred from having housing. And if you want something a little bit bigger within the system, until we get a truly egalitarian government, then yeah, I mean, we're going to have to transition. During that transitionary period, then yeah, go ahead, purchase a house. But as far as rent, things like that, like, no. You either buy or that's it. Renting, yeah, no. I don't think so. I think you should be able to purchase, and I think it should be a lot less than what it is. But that's what they're doing. And it's going to harm a lot of people. And it's going to harm a lot of people that's not in Florida because they're not here yet. And I'm going to show you guys why. Let me see. Okay. Okay.
For our area, planning what they call Vision 2050. They're talking about infrastructure, roads, and really the density of our housing population in the area. If this is going to be an exciting and vibrant place to live, they need to start planning for it today. When they're looking at where the major growth is going to happen, they're looking in the Lake Nona area, UCF area, the I-4 corridor, and I-Drive areas. And what they're thinking about doing is not only adding more roads, but then also allowing more density, meaning instead of being able to just have 50 units per acre of land, they're allowing people to go even higher and allowing 100 units per acre of land. This is going to allow for more apartments and more higher density, and hopefully with more housing stock, we'll have to bring down rents overall. Follow for more. There's an estimated
700,000 people.
People moving to Orange County, Florida over the next 16 years. And
that's a lot of people. And laws like this coming in, this is what's going to affect them. definitely affect me. Because now that this law is going to be in effect, well, I might need more patrons. It's just crazy. So that's what's going on here in Florida with DeSantis making this happen. So yeah, this is ridiculous. And this is why we need to change the system. This system is horrific. So let me go to the chat. And it's the 25th and the 1st is coming up quickly. God damn it. Rent's too damn high. Let's go to the chat. Sean Miller says Florida is one of the only states your property can be taken from you for any debt. Yep, they're on the side of the big corporations. Look, Ron DeSantis does not give a shit about workers. I don't care if you love Ron DeSantis. He doesn't care about you. He will side with BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. He'll side with people like Bill Gates if it meant that he can get money from them. He doesn't care about workers. And so if these corporations want to buy up all the houses and then start charging fees per month on top of the rent so that they can make even more, yeah, he'll allow them to do it. And even some conservatives are now complaining about it. They're like, Ron DeSantis is inviting all these people to move here and has made our rents and property taxes and all that stuff explode. Florida is literally becoming another New York and California. It literally is. You know what we have been saying for years? Florida is a northern state in the South. Especially when you get to Orange County, where I live, and you go south, Orange, Volusia. Once you go down from Orange County down south past Okeechobee, and then you get down to Miami-Dade, baby, I'm telling you, you're up north. Because we get people from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Maine. We get people from Michigan, Illinois. We get all them people, especially when it gets really cold in the winter. We get them snowbirds from Canada. We get them. And sometimes they're like, they fall in love here. And they're like, you know what? We sold our house. We're moving down here. And a lot of times they'll think, oh, well, we made a lot of money up there, so we'll just move down here because we made really good money. But then if you come down here, the cost of living, the ratio is still the same. You'll make less, but the ratio is still the same. The only difference is if you're employed in New York, but you're working from remotely, and you're still making what you made in New York, but you're living in Florida, then that maybe that. But other than that, no, you don't. No. In fact, the ratio to the cost of living is even wider. It's even wider here now than it was back then. And because of that, The wealth disparity is even worse. That's Florida. Florida, it is horrible. Do I have a tenant union? No. Maybe I can start one, but it's not like all the units in the condo community where I live are all owned by the same person. There's only a couple, so it's not that much. Like some of them are independently owned, and some of them the owners live in. So it's kind of tough. It's like being between a rock and a hard place, you know. And protections are being chopped away left and right in places like Florida. The Jam Mom, you're correct. Says this is why being organized is important. When things happen individually, there's not much you can do. Yeah. Sean Miller says co-op housing. I would love to have co-op housing. Most apartments Sean Miller says most apartments require 3 times the rent for income. The F? I'd buy a house if I made 3 times. Yeah. I mean, if your rent is $1,500 a month, you would need to make $4,500 a month in order to afford rent for $1,500. But if I made $4,500 a month, why wouldn't I just save that $1,500 a month for a few months while staying someplace else and use that as a down payment for a house? Most of us can't afford it. We just can't. I sure as hell know I can't afford a down payment on a house. And plus, you have to put way more down than you used to back then. So I can't afford it. I know a lot of y'all can't afford it. So we're stuck renting for the rest of our lives. You know what's sad? I hate to depress y'all, but my mother is going on 72 years old, and she's never owned her own home. 72. I'll be 40 next year, and I know I'll never own my own home. I'll be 40. I got friends with kids that just graduated high school, and they've never owned their own home. So yeah, it's bad. It is bad. Like Misty Winston says, we're fucked. We are. And people will say, well, just pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. I ain't got no boots. And I can't even get the boots because I have to rent them from you. Oh, gosh. Thank you so much for the 2 super stickers, Adam, for the 99 and the $1.99. Thank you so much, Adam. God knows I need it. I can't believe I live in this state. Oh, my mother was just trying to move us out just so that we can have a better life instead of living in Camden. Lord. John H. says, ugh, I'm hacking and troubleshooting the interwebs here. Yeah. Sakudo says supply and demand is a lie. More supply does not bring down prices. No, they don't. And Sakudo says we already have more than enough housing. 16 million of them. 16 million vacant homes in this country. Yep. And they're like, oh, we just need to build more housing. You guys, hold up. This is another great. I'm sorry, I'm about to go on another rant. But hey, look, shoot. I got time. So when people say we need to build more affordable housing, no, we don't. We don't need to build more affordable housing because we have the housing. We have the housing. We got it. 16 million vacant homes in this country. And we're talking about building more affordable housing. No, just give the housing to people who need it. You got these buildings in New York that are empty. And they're withholding them from being rented out because they want to charge up the ass for rent. And yet, guess what? You got homeless people sleeping on the streets and find these same buildings. Make that make sense, baby. You got housing and you got homeless people? Housing, homelessness is virtually non-existent in places like Cuba and China. Yet, the United States of America can't get rid of homelessness. We have the housing. We don't even need to build more. Also, when people talk about the homeless, you think automatically in your mind, the person out there that's sleeping on the streets, that's got a cart full of stuff, that out there next to you, next to the front door of the 7-Eleven or the Wawa, that asks you for cash as soon as you leave. That's not all the homeless people. Some of them are in their cars. Some of them are in a motel. Some of them are sleeping on couches. Some of them are sleeping on your own couch in your living room. Some of them would like to have their own home, but they can't even move out of their parents' house. So they have to stay in their room, even though they would like to. Some of them are married, going back to live with their parents because they can't even afford their own home as a married couple. Some of them get out of the system as soon as they turn 18, out of the foster system. And where do they go? So there's a lot of homeless people out there. Way more than the 560,000 people that sleep out in the streets. And yet, there's 16 million vacant homes and they don't want people to have them. Like Tupac said, there are people who got 2, 3, 4, 5 houses. You can't give one person one house? You can't give a person a house? You got millions and millions of dollars? It's crazy because I can't sleep having a second home while knowing there are people who have none. None. How do you sleep at night? Screen Arts Media says Florida property will take a big hit as retired boomers die off. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, the government is going. Oh, my God. You know what? You just hit on a good point, Screen Arts Media, because a lot of the silent generation and boomers, once they die off, some of them, they can leave their houses to their kids, but a lot of us, we can't buy houses, right? So Gen X will do okay, but millennials and Gen Z, we're going to suffer. And on top of it, those taxes that would typically be paid from buying a house, because these corporations automatically own it all, then what's going to happen? Well, they're going to skip out on the taxes because that's what corporations do. So then, you know, because Florida is a state that needs taxes to fund the government, then they're not going to get as many of those funds, meaning that the state is actually going to be worse off financially. Remember, we don't have a state income tax. So when we do our taxes at the end of the year, we don't get money back from Florida because we never got tax money taken out. Florida is one of the only states in the United States that does not have a state income tax. So all we have is federal. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Let me go to. Yep. Most of us are not okay. Yeah. Look, I know. I guess all of us ain't okay. We all need to band together. And guess what? There's also a lot of boomers that aren't okay either. There are some boomers out there that aren't okay either. You know? And my thing is, it's like, whether it's boomer, Gen X, millennial, Gen Z, no matter what, we're all workers. We all just need to come together. Because some people, some small subsets of each generation are just exploitative. So yeah. We're going to do it, baby. We're going to do it. Thanks to Adam for the super chat. Adam says you're one of my favorite YouTubers. Damn, what a compliment, dude. Says, I hope you can keep doing what you're doing. Money for war, but can't feed the poor. Oh. Thank you, Adam. That means a lot. Yeah, I'm going through it, man. But I appreciate it. But, you know, I also want, you know, people, all of you guys, to keep speaking truth to power, you know, and then speaking truth to your neighbors, because that's what needs to happen. All right. Now, let me check the Rockfin side. All right, we got people watching, but they're just chilling. Actually, let me check the Rumble side, because I haven't checked the Rumble side in a while. Hopefully, I got a few people in there. Let me see. All right. As I'm seeing, not yet, so everybody's pretty chill on that side. Okay. So, as long as this has been, I'm actually about to get into my main story. I'm so silly. That rant really made me go over. But this is a story that came out I think it was last night until this morning. Israel guts judicial system. Let's get into this, because this is crazy. Oh my Lord. Israel, Lord. You guys want to talk about chickens coming home to roost? Dear Lord. Let's get into this. All right, so Israel, basically exactly what I just said. They just gutted their judicial system. Y'all gonna be like, what? Let me show you. let me learn you something. All right, I'm going to read the article, and then we're going to get into this. So this is going to be out of Al Jazeera. Baby, let me show you. All right, so it says Israeli parliament passes divisive law weakening Supreme Court. Opposition walks out of Knesset session. Protests to continue against judicial overhaul, and watchdog group plans to appeal to the High Court. Says the Israeli parliament, or Knesset, has passed a bill that would overhaul the judiciary and limit its powers despite mass protests from the opposition. Last-minute talks to find a compromise failed to stop the far-right government led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from pushing ahead with the vote. I always wanted to do that. The third and final vote on the bill passed 64-0 after a volatile session. The opposition boycotted it in protest and stormed out of the chamber, chanting "shame." Sounds like Game of Thrones. The law, part of a wider effort to overhaul the judiciary, prevents the Supreme Court from striking down the government decisions. Its supporters say the current reasonability standards gives unelected judges excessive powers over decision-making by elected officials. But critics of the government says it removes a key element of the court's oversight powers and opens the way for corruption and improper appointments. So let's think about it like this. Let's say hypothetically that the U.S. Supreme Court was gutted, right? So the protections that we enjoy was taken away by the legislator. So basically meaning that because we have money in politics in our government, that means that the corporations have more of a say and it's less of a check on our government. Technically here in the United States, our courts really aren't that big of a check on our government because the judges are also owned by the corporations. So essentially, it's not really that big of a difference here. But for them, they're seeing the USification of their judicial system, of their system that they have. Is it really a USification? Not really, because really the state of Israel is just the baby brother of the United States, and they do all the bullshit that the United States has. Anyway, so yeah, they're in an uproar over that because the courts are now even weaker. Let's continue. This is juicy. Okay, it says mass protest against the bill continued on Monday, which was yesterday. Excuse me. After thousands of people marched from Tel Aviv to West Jerusalem to demonstrate their opposition to the government's proposals. According to the media, at least 34 demonstrators were detained across the country on Monday evening, and several people were injured by the use of water cannons. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound water cannons being used on protesters? That sounds vaguely familiar. What does that sound like to y'all? I wonder. Let's continue. It says there were clashes between police and demonstrators in several towns. According to reports, opponents of the judicial reform blocked several roads in the country. In Tel Aviv, hundreds marched on a central highway in the evening. This sounds so eerily familiar. Says Ofer Kassif, an opposition Knesset member, told Al Jazeera that the current government is a fascist one. Interesting. As for more than 50 years, Israel has been engaging in an ongoing military dictatorship in the occupied Palestinian territories, Kassif said from West Jerusalem. Kassif ain't lying. It's like there can be no there can be no democracy that engages in military occupation and currently there is a penetration of the occupation system culture into Israel, he argued. And now Israel is following this law, which is just the beginning. Other laws are expected to pass around the corner, and those are going to turn Israel into a fully fledged fascist dictatorship in which most fanatic and zealous components are in power. And yet people of both parties, Democrats and Republicans, want to take pictures with Netanyahu, want to say Israel is our biggest ally, and yet Israel said, hold my beer, let me show these motherfuckers what's up. See? Lord and Lord, chickens coming home to roost. It says the massive, sustained protests against the judicial legislation have largely shunned mention of Israel's 56-year occupation of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and besiegement of the Gaza Strip, fearing the issue might alienate their supporters. But critics portray this rule over another people as a major stain on Israel's claim to be a liberal democracy and accuse the protesters of harboring significant blind spot in their struggle. After the vote, Justice Minister Yariv Levin, the architect of the plan, said the parliament had taken a first step in an important historic process of overhauling the judiciary. Meanwhile, an Israeli political watchdog group said it would file a Supreme Court appeal against the new law. Y'all better do it quickly now. Says the movement for equality government in Israel said it would argue that the amendment was a de facto elimination of the judicial branch and should be overturned by the court. Y'all better work quickly because it's about to happen. As more protests were expected after the vote, earlier demonstrators, many of whom feel that the foundations of their country are being eroded by the government's plan, blocked a road leading to Parliament. Big mall chains and some petrol stations closed in protest. Further ratcheting up the pressure on Netanyahu, thousands of military reservists have declared their refusal to serve under a government taking steps that they see as setting the country on a path to dictatorship. Holy shit. Even the military is saying, if you guys do this, we're not serving anymore. I wish people who were in the military in this country would have said, you know what, you guys are doing this. Look, we're not serving. I wish. Court-martial our asses. Put us in jail. We're not doing it. I wish every single person who was serving in our military resisted our government and said, you know what, you guys are going fascist. We refuse. I wish our military personnel did that. Damn it. Imagine if drones didn't go in the air, F-15s didn't fly, tanks didn't roll, and boots were no longer on the ground. If soldiers had said, you know what, we're not leaving the base, we're staying here. If pilots said, these planes will not go off the ground. If engineers and repairmen said, you know what, we're not fixing these planes. If drivers said, these Humvees will not roll. In fact, we're not even filling the tanks for these Humvees. Oh my Lord, this would. If boats did not leave the dock, if ships stayed in place, if shipbuilders said, you know what, now we're not going to do this. If sailors stayed on the ship, they said, yeah, we're not doing anything. Submarine crew, They stayed in their living quarters. We ain't going nowhere. What if? Oh my God. That's a dream. If they actually spoke out against their government, they looked their commander-in-chief in the eye and said, no. I'm live. Goodness gracious. What if they did that? So, yeah, no. It is not feasible for them to do that. You know? Goodness gracious. People. So, let me do this. Let me show you guys. I see what you said, Sean Miller. I ain't got time. But let me show you guys what happened. So, you know what? That's a good clip. Let me show you this first. I'm going to show you guys what happened first. So, this is what happened in Israel first.
מי שאינו מעוניין להצביע מוזמן לצאת. מי שלא נעזור לו.
These acts of protest came after it was clear opponents could not block a bitterly divisive plan to overhaul the Israeli judiciary from clearing a vote in parliament on Monday. The bill, which curbs the country's Supreme Court's ability to overrule decisions by the government and ministers, passed in a 64-0 vote in the 120-member legislature. When the vote was called, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu answered in the affirmative.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's a political victory for his hardline religious nationalist coalition, but one that has provoked a political crisis and sparked largest mass anti-government protests in the country's recent history. Tens of thousands of Israelis took to the streets for weeks, blocking traffic and likening Netanyahu to a dictator. Two of the country's biggest banks said they would allow workers to demonstrate on Monday without losing pay. A forum of some 150 of Israel's largest companies went on strike, and two of the nation's largest shopping malls said stores would stay shut. Critics say the overhaul would undermine a key pillar of Israeli democracy, and the protests have prompted warnings from the army's top brass about the state's military readiness. Supporters of the move inside Netanyahu's coalition say the changes are needed to restore balance to the different branches of government. They posed for selfies and slapped one another on the back after the measure passed. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration urged the Israeli government to find a compromise, but Monday's vote comes after all such efforts seem to have failed. In the streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, protesters vowed not to back down.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? This is just chickens coming home to roost. That's all it really is. Look at what you guys did when it came to the Palestinian people. You employed fascist. Policies against Palestinian people for years. And you thought that you were okay. You thought you were shielded until they turned against you. You supported the Israeli government, and you said, you know, this is the only, what do they say? This is the only democracy in the Middle East. Even though there was democracies in the Middle East before Israel even existed. There were. They had democratically elected governments. Remember what happened in was it Iran under Mohammed Mossadegh, where the United States ended up taking him out through a coup? Yeah, and replaced him with the Shah. No, the United, there were democracies there. And so you're in a state that is literally committing a genocide against an indigenous people that employs settler colonial tactics to move them and to really exterminate them. And you supported this government. And yet now this government's turning on you. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes? Because the Israeli government is pretty far to the right now. Let's see the results of some of this. Oops. Let me share the screen really quick. I want you guys to take a look at this guy. Look at what they're doing. See this guy right here in the middle? 3, 2, 1. Boom. Look at the bottom. They're all hiding behind the wall from the water cannon. This is in Israel. This is in Israel, man. So you mean to tell me, does this look familiar? Does it? Because it looks familiar to me. It looks familiar as hell. That's what they're doing. But don't sit here and rise up against your government because they're now doing to you what you guys have been in favor of doing to Palestinians for years. You guys wanted this. You guys wanted stuff like this done against Palestinians. You guys favored for it. Not just Palestinians, but you guys also wanted to do this to the black Jews, to the African Jews that were in Israel. You guys wanted them to be, deported. And now the government of Israel is doing basically some of the same stuff to y'all, or is going in that direction. And now you guys are like, oh my God, this is horrible. Anytime I've ever said, if they're going to do it to us, they're doing it to you. The same thing in Israel. If they're going to do it to the Palestinians, they're going to do it to the Israelis. Watch. Look at this. Look at that. I should have said viewer discretion is advised for this part, but yeah, that's what they're doing. They're doing stuff like this. Does that remind you of something? What happened in 2020 with police cars and people? What happened? If this was a bunch of Palestinian people, some of these people in these streets would be cheering. Now, here's the thing. I don't take pride in saying this. What I'm saying is, do better. Because you cheered on when things like this were being done to Palestinian people. But now that it's happening to you, where's the sympathy? Palestinian people went through this. Where was your anger? Where was your rage of what was being done to them? Your courts are being gutted by the same government that you cheered on as they did what they did to Palestinian people. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing to the people. Chickens coming home to roost. That's what this is. You reap what you sow. That's what you did to Palestinian people. You pushed them out. You suppressed them. And now look, the same government you cheered on is doing the same thing to you. This is also a lesson to a lot of people here in the United States. Look what they do to black people. Look what they do to trans people. Look what they do to immigrants. Look what they do to Muslims. If they do it to them, they're going to do it to you. This is why class consciousness is so important. This is why taking the elements of racism, misogyny, misogynoir, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, these are why you take these things and you cast it away, because that's what they're using to put you against one another. And then once you realize when you're not looking, they do this to you. This is why we need to build class consciousness together. And to have a dictatorship of the workers instead of the corporate dictators, because they're looking to do this to you. If you are white, especially, pay attention. If you're cisgender, pay attention. If you are straight, pay attention. If you are a dude, pay attention. They're going to do it to you. If you are native to this country, not native, if you are a citizen of this country, pay attention, because they're going to do it to you. Because if they're doing it to them, if they're doing it to us, it's going to happen to you. And if you don't pay attention, it's going to be too late. They came for the socialists or the communists, and I did not speak out, for I was not a communist. They came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And they came for the trans people. They came for the gays. They came for the blacks. They came for the women. They came for the immigrants, and I did not speak out. And then they came for me, and I did not speak out And guess what? There was nobody to speak for me. Because guess what? You said, oh, let's just otherize these people and get them out of the way. And now, guess what? Now you're stuck. Because you allowed it to happen to disenfranchised people. They came for the Palestinians and they did not speak out because they weren't Palestinian. And now they're coming for them. And who, pray tell, is speaking for them? That's the point. This is why standing up against oppression in any form is essential. These thugs, the IDF, train our police in this country. Yep. These are the people that train our police. And so when people talk about the government would never, the government would never, my sweet summer child, let's be real here. The government has many times, you saw how your nation treated Palestinians, and you would never imagine it would happen to you. It is deeply wishful and foolish thinking to think that they would never do it to you. And apply that same logic here in the United States. They would never. They have. They would. And they're doing it again. This is why it is important to build class consciousness and toss all these ideas away of, oh my God, the gays and the trans people are coming after your kids. No, they're not. That's a narrative being put out by the corporate dictators so that there's a divide between us. Oh my, just like some black dudes are talking about, oh my God, they're feminizing men. Nobody's feminizing men. That's just some bullshit that they're trying to feed you so that you go up against people who are like me. That's all it is. Oh my God, the immigrants. Oh my God, females, women are acting like this. Oh my, it's the same thing. It's all that. It's all BS in order to keep us divided. You and I have more in common than you and I will ever have with somebody like Elon Musk. Let's come together. Let's actually make things better for us. Not these corporate dictators. Not these people who head up Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. These parasites that do nothing but extract from all of us. That's who we need to protect our kids from. That's who. If you want to save the kids, you want to save the children, all right, go up against BlackRock, State Street. Go up against companies like Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin. Those are the ones. Those are the ones that are recruiting your kids to go fight in wars as cannon fodder. If you want to save the kids, save them. They're literally in our schools recruiting kids to be blown to bits in other countries. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Those are the groomers. Let's save our kids from them. Get them out of our schools. The groomers are the ones that are walking the halls of your schools. And at the slightest inkling of aggression, they will put him in handcuffs, put him in jail, and send him on that pipeline to prison. They wear a badge and a gun. Groomers with badges and guns trying to groom your kids into prison slavery. Those are the groomers. Let's fight against that. All because they make things like poverty illegal. And your neighborhoods, our neighborhoods, are going down the tubes because people are too poor to eat, too poor to live, and don't have health care, and don't have a good education. They create the conditions for us to commit the crimes and then punish us for when we actually do commit it. Because we dare try to eat and we dare try to live. They're going to do it to us. If they've done it to us, they're going to do it to you. Palestinians are the canaries in the coal mine. Black people are also the canaries in the coal mine. Watch this space. What else I got on my list? Let me see. There's something else. So yeah. You know, they're trying to make it so that people are just have nothing. They don't want you to have anything. Let me share this, because this gentleman has the same frustration that a lot of us have. And this basically proves my point.
This man went on an emotional rant because he could lose his future accruals of pension benefits.
Nobody tell me, nobody here tell me why I get emotional. Why you talk like that? That's fine. That's fine. You don't know where I'm from. You know? I want to talk to this brother. Exactly. I mean, 30-something money. Yeah, I agree with you. 30-something years. You tell me I ain't got no fucking pension. Yeah, I agree. Nobody tell me to calm my down. Everybody tell me to calm down. God damn it. This my motherfucking money y'all playing with. You're right. That shit.
Trucking firm Yellow Corp failed to make a $50 million payment for health and welfare benefits for its employees. As a result, employees are not accruing any more pension credits, unless the company and IBT come to an agreement by this Sunday. This is a concerning situation for 22,000 workers. They are planning to strike next week. This man went on an emotional rant because he could lose his future accruals of pension benefits.
Because ultimately they want you to have nothing. Imagine working 30 years and thinking that you're accruing pension benefits, only for it to go up in smoke. 30 years. 30 years you gave your life to one company. I'm surprised. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm on YouTube. I'm surprised he handled it as well as he did. I might have handled it worse. This is the state of the country. So yeah, when it comes to the state of our country, when it comes to the state of Israel, right? There are two peas in a pod. Corporations own Israel only because it's in the Middle East, so that they can be surrounded by other countries and they can subjugate these other countries surrounding them to rule. They want to subjugate Syria. They want to subjugate Iran. They want to subjugate Iraq. They want to subjugate Afghanistan. That's what they basically want to do. They want to own that part because they also have resources in that part. That's basically what it is. That's the United States arm in the Middle East. The United States also wants to do it to us, continuously place us under subjugation so they can get us back into slavery and change. But they just don't want to put black people back into chattel slavery. They also want to put white people in chattel slavery too. Hi, guess what? Time for you to wake up. That's what they want to do. And that's why class consciousness is important for us to wake up and to come together to get rid of these corporate dictators and have an actual government ran by workers. That's the point. This is why later in the month of August, I'll be meeting with people who signed up for the RBN chapter in Orlando. We will be discussing the things that we want to do with our communities. Once we do that and come to a consensus of what we want to do, we're going to create a direct action that will be helping out the people in our communities. So then we can do things like feeding, giving water, toiletries, teaching the people in the communities. Once we do that, we'll start that ball rolling. We'll also be doing recruiting. Now, if you still would like to join, then here's what I'll do. Let me put the link to the application in the chat. And if you guys would like to still, you can still do that. Okay. Because I know that there's a lot of people who still would like to join, who may have not gotten a chance. Let me see if I can get the link. Got my responses. Let me see. There you go. All right, shorten URL. Copy. Okay. So, and also, look, use what I said as an opportunity to join an organization. You can join Food Not Bombs. You can join other different organizations. Look for ones that are mutual aid organizations. And for those which you join, those mutual aid organizations, work out in your community. And, it could be free clinics. It could be feeding people. It could be giving them toiletries. It could be teaching people classes on different things. Or you could just be helping out your neighbors, on your own if you wish. But that's the point. Help out your neighbors as much as you possibly can, because this is what is needed. You guys don't have to do anything huge. Like I always say, leave the world better than you found it. You don't have to leave the world better than you found it in a large way. You can even do it in just multiple small ways. Many hands make the load light. That's the point. Even if it's just communicating with people the truths about what our country does, that's even helping people, right? Talking to your families, right? That's the point. And I want you guys to think about it in that ways. John Smith says, I'm sick of joining organizations. Which ones lowers my rent? It's not going to happen until we overthrow this system. And some of these organizations are working to build class consciousness so that we can do so. You have to take the first step before you can get to the 50th step. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. The thing is that the only way that you can lower your rent and no longer have landlords is by getting rid of this system. That's the point. And I'm sorry, but that's the process. You have to go through the process. Want to know why the home ownership of places like China are 80 to 90% home ownership rate? Because they actually had a revolution. Wonder why the home ownership rate is so high and there's no homelessness in Cuba? Because they had a revolution. I'm sorry, but the thing is that that's the only way. We have to go through that process. And that process means also joining organizations. I played the video from what Kwame Ture said, is that every single person who has ever been a revolutionary in our lifetime has been part of revolution. You can go to people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Kwame Ture, Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Luxemburg, so many different people who were either in this country or outside this country were also part of organizations. You can look to them because they organized. So, yeah. Now, let me go here. Good to see you, Notori. Love you back. Love you back. All right. Wait, did I put the link? Did I put the link in here? I'll put it again just in case. Okay, so let me go to Rockman really quick. Solid like a rock. All right. Okay. Thanks for the tip, Roger Meadows. Roger says, I'm gonna kick YouTube. I'm gonna kick YouTube's ass for not letting me know you were on. Yeah, I'm being suppressed, dude. I know. I'm being suppressed. It says, no, half my Gen X like me is in the same predicament as millennials and Gen Z. Yeah, I'm seeing that now, man. It says, while other half is with boomers. Why you think I have a millennial mentality while cats I grew up are still lesser of two evil Democrat? Yep. Now I peep Broken Points. Broken Points and Ball did a monologue on flood insurance companies fleeing Florida ahead of coming climate apocalypse. Thoughts? I mean, they're basically making money off the climate catastrophe. But at the same time, it's like, well, we have to pay out all these claims because of climate catastrophe. It's like they're hanging themselves by the rope that they sold us with. So, I mean, as far as the climate catastrophe is concerned, it's like, well, maybe, just maybe, if we didn't have this catastrophe, then maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't need flood insurance like that. But you guys made money off of it. Now y'all want to skip town. It's like, no, we all going. But now they don't want to do it. This is why we need a nationalized insurance system. We need to nationalize flood insurance. We need to nationalize car insurance. We need to nationalize homeowners insurance and have it so that it's just basically an account that is, we can also do this, not stationalized, nationalized, going to be done through public banking, but where it's all put into a pool, just like basically a single payer home insurance, single payer flood insurance, single payer fire insurance, right? Where it's all paid into a state-owned or a nationalized or a county-owned system. And so then you're only paying for operation fees, right? The only fees that come in are operations. And when you make a claim, they're not tight-fisted with it. It's like once you make a claim, it goes out. And so then, and this is until we actually have a system where no matter what, when things happen, you're good, right? That's my thoughts. I think you'll agree with that. But yeah, we need a system like that. The next one, Roger says, JB, military recruitment is down, dangerously down. Yeah, this is why they're trying to make it seem like, oh, we're woke and you guys can still join the military, when in reality, we all see the writing on the wall. We see it for what it is. Roger continues, says, can't we take this as a victory? Yes, you're right. We can take this as a victory, and I will take it as such. He continues, says, the military took a quick death, while ours is a slow, painstakingly one. They've been putting out ads for seniors to enlist. Fortin University in the Bronx offered free college to those who serve. They don't already go to college for free. Don't they already go to college for free if you serve? Whatever, but they're pulling out all the stops. Yeah, the thing is that a lot of people, like my nieces and nephews, well, especially my nephew, he's like, screw college, I ain't going. Because he realizes that, number one, school wasn't really that good for him anyway, number one. Number two, you're going to be in debt for the rest of your life. It's basically involuntary servitude or slavery for the rest of your life because you're being put under the yoke of college debt companies. So yeah. And they're like, well, you can get free college if you go into the military, but yeah, I got to put my life on the line. I got to basically sign in blood. I'm not about to do that. Roger also comments, he says the PGGC says Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation pension insurance guarantees private sector workers' pensions, pays pension benefits up to the maximum guaranteed benefit set by law to participants who retire at 65, $6,750 a month as of 2023. The benefits payable go to insured retirees who start their benefits at ages. And it says USA.gov. The number is 202-326-4000. So let me share this really quick. This is from what Roger was saying. He says Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. I did not know this existed. Says the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation insures and guarantees private sector workers' pensions. I had no idea this existed. I thought pensions were gone. I did not know. This is interesting. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is from USA.gov. Did you guys know this existed? We can literally still have pensions in this country. We could literally do that. Like, what the hell? Did y'all know this? Did y'all know this? I had no clue. This is... Man, Roger be bringing the receipts. Roger Meadows be bringing CVS receipts. You know how long them receipts are? He be bringing them CVS receipts. Like, good Lord, Roger. Thank you. Roger says, Sagar agrees with you about national flood insurance. Really? Hold up. Wait a minute. A right winger agrees with me about national flood insurance? Say it ain't so. Okay. All right. Cool. Cool beans, Jelly Bean. Okay. Thanks for that. But I had no idea. Thank you, Roger. But yes. So let me go to the chat and chat with some of y'all up in here. Let me see. Ryan says there have been fires in Sicily and hailstorms in other parts of Italy within the last few days. Climate change getting wild. DC says insurance is a scam. I agree. Steve says, I'm surprised there aren't any flood insurance still in Florida. They've been abandoning the Gulf Coast for decades. Yeah. Yeah, Creative Experience said it's called a public bank. Yeah. I think we need to bring back we need to have public banks nationwide. And I think we need to have postal banking brought back. Cole Commander says there are 8 million leeches in America. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, you know, there are some small little mom and pop landlords that, you know, only have landlords, you know, because of, you know, they can't afford to live on their own. I say we create a system where the people who would otherwise be homeless if they weren't landlords, I say we create a system where we have universal basic resources where they have their housing, they can't lose their housing, they have food as a right, and they have transportation, and they have utilities as a right, right? They have all these things fully paid for, and then eminent domain gives them money for the house, then the house is taken away and then given to somebody who needs housing. So then they don't ever have to worry about not losing their housing while no longer being a landlord. Because being a landlord should not be anything in this country. Landlords shouldn't exist. Housing should be for everybody. And then the 16 million vacant homes, buy that up with eminent domain, and then give homes to people. Those empty apartment buildings, well, guess what? They're going to be occupied by people. My goodness. What an idea. John Smith says we're in our 40s and waiting for daddy to fix it. Yeah, we aren't waiting for daddy to fix it. We're going to fix it ourselves. This is why class consciousness is so important. This is why coming together is so important, so that we take over the government as workers, and then we use the government as a tool to do it. If you had watched my stream earlier when I first started on my 20-minute rant about how government is a tool, and it depends on who's wielding that tool, it's up for us to take that tool back and wield it in the way in which we as workers see fit. That's what it is. Because government is not a daddy. Government is a tool that we use, or the corporate dictators use. And it's up for us to take it from the corporate dictators and use it for our own benefit. That's what it is. Screen Arts Media exactly says no such thing as superheroes to save us. Hate those movies. We save ourselves. It says people scared of Fed now, but gets rid of late fees because of instant payments. That's true, but they can also track all of your payments and wherever they go, and then they can also use that as a tool against us. So while in a sense it is a benefit with a government that is owned by corporations, I don't trust it. It's just like with pharma. I don't really have that much trust in the governments. Like, I don't necessarily trust them. I kind of have to by default because I'm forced to under duress, especially as somebody that's disabled. But at the same time, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. And so it's the same thing with the financial institutions now, as well as Fed now. Because the thing is that they can use it as a tool to suppress, especially mutual aid groups, different left and socialist organizations within the United States, and suppress our means to be able to support ourselves and our organizational efforts. So that's why I still have a problem with it. This is why the government needs to be taken out of the hands of the corporations and put into the hands of workers so that we can no longer have money in politics. Because once we do that, then it will actually be a government by and for the people. It is not. It's a government by and for the corporations, a government by and for the landowners or the people who own private property, who own the means of production. The means of production need to be put back in the hands of the workers instead of being put in the hands of just a very small few of a bunch of leeches who basically want to make us work and they take all the profits. So he said banks are against Fed now because it gets rid of late fees. Yeah, that's probably true. Even still, the government can still track everything, which makes me nervous. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that corporations will turn to fascism in order to hold on to their power. So they may be willing to concede that in order to keep power. You see what I mean? So, yeah. I saw somebody I went to say hello to. Nadia, good to see ya. Let me see. And hello, John, to Emily. Good to see you. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Creative experiments is, you know, he says a good tool can be used for evil. Yeah, like, I mean, if we had a government that was by and for workers and we didn't have money in politics, I'd probably be more game for Fed now. I just don't trust them with money in politics and our government being ran by the corporations. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's just like, how can I put it? Trying to think. It's like putting a bucket of paint in the middle of a room and then allowing a toddler access to that bucket of paint. It's like if I had that room and it was covered in paper, right? Or in canvases, then yes, right? But if I have a bucket of paint in a room with a white couch, white rugs, white walls, and I didn't want to get it ruined, but I had a bucket of red paint and a toddler, I'm not gonna trust it. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust corporations with this. No. So, but I think we're on the same track, creative experiments. Omar Rona says governments leech off the people who do the actual work in the economy. Well, really, it's the corporations that use the governments to leech off the people. So, yeah. All right, so I think that's it. I went off the deep end. By deep end, I mean I went long. Oh, wait, this one. Roger Meadow says starts ballot initiatives once unassembled them groups. Yeah. I'm sorry I missed that, Roger. My apologies. Let me check to see if I have anything else on Rockman. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to head out because I literally am running late. I got to get ready for my basics in Marxism class because that's going to be a good one. I don't want to disappoint Noah. I got to be there. Instructor Noah, I'm sorry. I'm coming. But, I just want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. It's like I said, I understand that some people are exhausted, but getting to a point where we can start organizing to build dual power so that we can leave this system behind, I think is very important. I'm working on doing it here in my little part of Central Florida. I hope you guys can work on it in different areas in your life to build class consciousness, because that's what we need to do. Do not avoid people because they are different than you. Try to explain things so that they realize that we're all in this together. Maybe it's somebody that, has conservative views. Use that conservative view to show them that the people who are workers just like them, who are different, we're not the enemies. Realize that your real enemy wears an Italian suit and goes to board meetings every day. Those are your enemies. Realize those people the real people who are your enemies are the ones who are collecting dividend checks from all these different companies, don't do a damn lick of labor in their life, and they are telling you that these people are your enemies because they love a different way, or are transitioning a different way, or come from a different country, or look a certain way, or have a certain genitalia. You know what I'm saying? Do not let them fool you. Do not be a lackey of the corporate dictators. Do not be their lapdog. Don't be their witch with a bee. All right? Don't let that happen. Because that's what they're trying to do. There's more that unites us than divides us. Thank you, Roger. Make it simple, Jay. Don't you trust a bull in a china shop? Thank you. With that, I'm going to head out. Thank you so very much to everybody. Thank you for your patience, for me being a little bit tardy today. I will be getting into the Assata Shakur autobiography. I'll be doing a reading for that later this week. We'll be getting into the next chapter, as well as I will also be getting into the next chapter for Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. I cannot wait. It's going to be good. I think I'm going to be doing a live reading of Assata Shakur autobiography because I haven't done a live reading for her in a little while. So I think I'll do a live reading. So that'll be cool. Also, just to let you guys know, if you guys would like to, If you guys want to, then you guys can also submit an application for the Orlando chapter. I'm opening that back up just in case anybody wants to join in. We will be meeting next month on the 19th. If you get an application in, I will send you the details of the meeting if you guys would like to join. So I will be doing that as well. And I want to thank all of you once again. If you guys have not, please make sure to like the stream. If you guys have not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. I'm trying to reach 3,000 subs by the end, but you know, the subs, they'll come. But if you guys would like to, you guys can go to jaybefaunt.substack.com if you guys would like to get email notifications, because that's important, because some people didn't get notified. This is why email notifications are so important. So go to my Substack and apply there as well, so you guys can get my notifications. Also, thank you so very much to all the patrons on Patreon, Coffee, as well as members. Yes, I also do memberships to all the members. And if you guys would like to send me any type of mutual aid via various platforms, they are also in the description under this stream and also in subsequent videos and readings. So thank you so very much. Like I always say, look, water your plants, water yourselves, and leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then, watch something funny, watch something hilarious, because joy is revolutionary. That is very important. And also, when it comes to our history, we can't sit here and allow, sanitation of our history. Learn from our history. Develop the intestinal fortitude to deal with it. Come to grips with it. Then once you do that, learn that our history, if you do not learn it, you're doomed to repeat it. Also, housing is a human right. And who's going to pay for it? We all will pay for it. Back in the day, if you were building a house, the community came together and helped you build it. What was the payment? We actually had a system where I got you next. So I build a house, I plant a crop, you help me build the house. Guess what? I got some sweet potatoes. Okay, I'm going to give you some sweet potatoes, and then we'll trade amongst each other. Or if you need something, I'll help you till your yard, or I'll help you do some things for your housing. And then we all come up together. That was the system. I would like to have a system like that again. So make sure to do that. And as well, recognize your privilege, no matter what it is, because we all have privileges in certain ways. So recognize that and look out for the little guy. Whether it's somebody who's disenfranchised in one way or the other, look out for the little guy. Because guess what? We're all connected. So, forehead kisses to every single one of you. I'm going to close out with a video. And love you very much. Forehead kisses again. Because I just love you. Let's go. Bye, everybody.
When you realize that everything is free, food is free, water is free, shelter is free, it just takes a little labor. Every fruit bears seeds. It just takes a little labor to make it bear fruit again. Everything is free. Somebody decided that it had a monetary value. Somebody, we know who, decided. We were civil before this. We understood that. We only took what we needed. That's how we had balance. So this matrix is not some like cog in the machine. We're plugged up to some system we got to break free from. No, we got to realize that a small percentage of these people decided to exploit areas and determine what the value is. Gold is literally free. It comes from the earth naturally. Oil is free. Energy is free. It just take a little labor. People should get paid for the ideas, but the idea was free.
Everything
is free. That's the matrix.